Good morning, everybody. It is a brand new week. It is Monday, June 15th, and I hope you all had a great weekend. And my weekend was actually low key. I stayed home and just relaxed because I was on set last week working outside in about 100-degree weather, and the sun was basically just tapped me out. And I remember having a fight with a friend who said to me, "Go to hell." And I said, "I'm already here. Would you like to join me?" Um, And while I was on set, I had a very interesting phone call from from the last person I ever expected. Um, and that was my former neighbor, where I used to live around 10 years ago. And I couldn't imagine, A, how did she have my phone number, but not my mother's, and B, why would she be calling me, you know? And it turned out that there was a check for me at the old address for some settlement. And I asked her to basically open up the check, tell me how much it was. She told me the amount, and I said immediately, okay, it's probably a scam, but I can't know for sure until I take a look at it. So I said, cover it up, put tape back on it, and I'll come pick it up tomorrow or whenever I can. And what my that's what my podcast is going to be about today. And I'm actually going to jump around a little bit because because my podcast today is related to a lot of different things that I want to talk about that happens to be all related together. Friday was basically a memory lane because I did go down there. And while I always go down to that neighborhood, this is the first time I entered my apartment since I moved out 10 years ago. And it was really weird to be back there. And it turned out, with the help of AI, it turned out that the check was in fact legitimate. And it was an actual settlement that I didn't even know about, that wasn't made public. But all in all, I actually was pleased that this was a legitimate thing, and I deposited a check, and so far I haven't gotten any red flags from the bank. And while I was talking to her, the person next door, because I lived right across from her, and he came out and he said, "Oh, I finally get to meet you." And I'm like, "I never had your phone number, but I had a lot of mail that came to you as well." And, you know, and at that point, I said, I was thinking to myself, can I come inside and see how you fix up the place and how, if it's any different from when I was living there, is what I was thinking to myself. But I was also thinking to myself, it's better to keep the memory of how I left the apartment and how I left it 10 years ago than trying to whitewash that memory with something different. But also what I realized was that it's not even the same anymore because there's only two original neighbors that still live there. Her and the neighbor one flight down. Everybody else, well, I got some sad news from that. One person moved to Florida to be with her kids, which I guess makes sense. Um, and the other two neighbors that were downstairs, one got hit by a car about a year ago and died a couple of weeks later, which was sad because she was a really nice lady. And I said, "What happened to her husband?" He goes, "Oh, he moved to Lakewood to be with the kids." And the other one just died because, old age, really. But it was bittersweet. It was surreal, but it was also bittersweet because this was the house I grew up in for 35 years. Moved in 1985. I was about 5 years old. So it was kind of surreal being back there. And because I thought I'd never be back in that building again. And I've passed it many times throughout the years when I come back to the neighborhood for different reasons. And and you don't realize how much time has passed. You know, the neighborhood itself didn't change, but it got me thinking: if my apartment changed, then what about everybody else in the other buildings that are all connected to each other and downstairs in the backyard? And I was like, I'm not about to go find out, knock on every door and see. But when you grow up with these people, and then you move, you really lose contact with them. You know, you really lose contact with them, and and then when you come back for whatever reason, you find out, wow, and it's really sad. And I haven't told my mother yet, only because she likely doesn't need to know. But how do you tell somebody that? How do you tell somebody that the neighbor you've known practically for 30 years is suddenly gone? And and then while I was there, I said, let me go check out the other things. Some things changed. The minute I got off the train, I noticed right away that where there used to be a laundromat is now a flower shop. The cafe that was right there is closed and has papers on the windows. Now that could mean they're either renovating and they took the sign down because they're changing the name, or it's generally out of business. And so that was interesting. And then I did walk down my neighborhood, and 3 blocks away, 3 blocks away, for years the building was abandoned. That lot was abandoned, and suddenly, now it's fully realized as either a school or a synagogue or both. But I didn't want to go in there. Everything else stays the same. And also for nostalgia, I went to my old pizza shop that was right across the street from my apartment. And they remembered me 30 years later. I mean, all these years later, they still remember me. They still don't know my name. They still call me JJ's brother. Or they still call me JJ because my brother's name is JJ. And I said, that's not my... I said, after all this time, you still don't know my name? I'm his brother, so they call me JJ's brother. They never... All these years later, I come back 10 years later, and they still don't remember my name, which is humorous in itself. But I guess when you're a regular on a weekly basis, they remember you. And it's like the place never changed at all. The guy still has the same Bluetooth that he had 10 years ago. He's only grayer now. The pizza place changed for a little bit, that they now have books in the back. Hebrew books. I believe the place got a little bit smaller, but it's still there. And somebody else walking in the store remembered me, and it was just all coming back. It was all just coming back, and you have to wonder, like, was it meant to be? Was it meant to be? And then you realize life is short, life is precious, and you never know what's going to happen from one day to the next, because you don't know if you'll see tomorrow. And I don't want to be so gloomy or negative here, but realistically, that's true. We all take life for granted, and we all try to make the most of it. And I'm saying, yeah, we do, because, and it's something with my personal life, and I have this, and I told you that somebody I know, my ex, really, we haven't spoken in a month. The last thing she ever said to me was, "I don't hate you, but we don't have to speak every day." And yeah, that's a fair assessment. But a month later, not only is she not speaking to me, but she turned my friend against me, and he hasn't talking to me either. And it's not lost on me that they're both doing the same exact thing at the same exact time together. It's not lost on me. And it's so much so that when I saw him on Friday night at the same meal, he acted as if I wasn't even there, like I never existed. Or as we call it, the cold shoulder. And when I asked him something, when I asked him what we were talking about, his response to me was, for once, when I'm talking about you, but I guess you have to learn it the hard way. And I asked him what he meant by that. He said, look in the dictionary. And I remember it correctly because I remember all the vagueness. And I remember writing on a Friday. I wrote, "Oh my God, today's turning out to be so surreal and bittersweet for me as I take an unexpected trip down memory lane to the good old days, back before I ever met either one of you." Now, I was purposely being cryptic and vague. I was purposely being cryptic and vague because, when somebody's posting a cryptic or vague message, the normal human nature is we want to know what they're talking about. And can you clarify? But they didn't take the bait. They didn't take the bait. And you know what? It doesn't really bother me because this was my memory. This was my life. And it truly was the good old days. But I have to tell you something. Ever since I moved to where I am now, my life has changed for the better. I'm not that person from 30 years ago. I'm not that person from 10 years ago. I've done, and I have to say that doing acting work has opened doors for me and given me opportunities that I may not have ever had. And not once have I ever imagined I'd be doing that. Not once have I ever thought that I'd be on a film set or a TV set. Not once did I ever imagine I would do trade shows or or become a brand ambassador or focus groups. Not once did I ever think these things. But it's the film, but being on these sets opened these doors and gave me the opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And I'm always grateful for that. And that's what's important to network. Because when you do networking, networking leads to other things. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'd be at the iconic Studio 8H and on the set of Saturday Night Live. Never in a million years did I think that. And that was an opportunity I took because I never thought it would, because I thought maybe it would never come again. And you know what? 2 years later, I haven't gotten that chance. Not because they don't like me. It's just very hard to get cast on that show. And it was just pure luck that one day I just happened to have gotten a text from their casting director and said, hey, this is the casting director from SNL. They send me the text on the same day and said, hey, can you be here for rehearsal by this and this time? And I said, absolutely. I have no idea what the sketch was, but they asked me about my wardrobe. And and while my sketch got cut, it was still surreal and an honor to be there. And so all of this, I feel like going down to my apartment on Friday was a full circle moment. Not because, you know, and I literally grew up in that house because I am 46 now, and I've been living, and I've moved already 3 times, and I'm about to do it again. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm about to move for the third time. Yeah, it's real. And I realize now that everything happens for a reason. And all this that's going on now with my friend in this chat and socially, I feel like all of this had to happen to make me the person I am today. Because it's made me learn about who I am, and it's made me become stronger and better, and it's also made me see who people really are. And so I truly believe that everything that's happened in my life now, and that's happening, I have to, I had to experience it in order to be where I am today. And I realized that on Friday. I realized that because when I write that it's bittersweet, it's because A, you're not there anymore, But A, you're finding out that the neighborhood, it was, changed slightly, but also because the neighbors you lived with are no longer there. They're no longer there. And it's just sad that when you grow up, it's like you watch these movies. It's like you hear from people, they go back to their childhood home, and the only thing that's left there is a wall that's standing, or the foundation is the only thing that's left. And my memory, thankfully, is sharp. And I do remember the neighborhood very clearly. And I remember that my life was completely different back then. I had a lot of the friends that I had living in that neighborhood, I no longer have. Or, but I also know I made new friends. Some close to me, some not. I know that there's somebody that lives 4 blocks from me, 4 houses down from me. We have a very good relationship, and her kids took a liking to me. And that's not easy to do. Young kids, that's not easy for them to do. But their kids took a liking to me, so much so that she actually trusts me to be alone with her kids and take them places and things like that. How many moms can say that? So, but I also do remember that on the last days of that house, I do remember the bad times where I was in a very bad place. I was in a dark place right at the end of when I was being asked to leave. And I was in a very dark place. And I vowed to myself I would never want to be in that place again. But the thing on that, but the positive thing on this is that I now understand what people go through, the homelessness of people and people begging for food. I notice that now. I realize that you know what, people, things happen for a reason, and and we don't know the reason, and not always, and not always are we meant to understand the reason. Not always were we meant to understand the reason, and sometimes we just don't, until we're put in their shoes. We don't really understand. Perfect example is, until my father died, I had no idea what it was like to lose a parent. All I had to say was, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm here for you if you need to be. And then my father, unfortunately, did pass. And now I was able to understand what it means to lose a parent. And I can relate to people who lost a parent or two. And I tell my mother all the time, you're the only parent I got left. And she likes to rub it in my face many times. You know. And so when I was in a very dark place, I vowed never to do that again. And when I say I was in a very dark place, I mean that literally. I had $100 to my name. I had $100 to my name, and I literally had to go on Facebook and ask complete strangers to feed me. And I wish this was a joke, but it's not. This is the harsh reality. And it takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage to probably go on social media and say, can you please feed me? I don't have food, and I don't have a job, and I'm starving. And I have to tell you, a bunch of strangers on Facebook helping you out saved my life. And if I confronted them today, if I go down my messenger from 10 years ago, if I start scrolling down from 10 years ago, and I message them now, and I write, thank you for saving my life, they may not remember me, but I have to tell you, they saved my life. Because that food alone it shows there are still good people out there. And that brings me to today, where our entire world changed. Some of it has to do with the current political climate, the people running this country, and some of it is just human nature, really. And I talk about my ex a lot, being narcissists and everything. And and she has done that. She has tried very hard to bring back those demons and put me back in that dark place. And she has tried very hard. She knows more about me than I've told anybody ever. And one of the things because of what she's done to me, I've learned to put my walls back up and guard myself very, very well. And I vowed never, never to let those demons out again, because it is not a pretty sight. And I'm constantly struggling with these demons. I'm constantly struggling on how I'm constantly struggling with keeping those demons at bay. Now, I don't know why she stopped talking to me. I don't know why she just decided I no longer exist to her, why she's leaving me for dead. But I did write to her, assuming she could read the chat without archiving it. I wrote to her basically, thank you. This is the best gift you can have ever given me. Thank you very much. And it's not even my birthday. Because, and people have noticed this, because now that I'm no longer talking to her, at least for now, people have noticed a change in me, where they've noticed me, I'm more happier, I'm less stressful, I'm more confident. I'm doing more things, meaning I'm going out more, and I'm literally living my life. Things I wouldn't do before when I was around her because, well, I can't explain why. Psychologically, though, I Googled it and said, psychologically, as I said last time, it makes sense, but I just can't explain it. And listen, I'm going out tonight. And my friend from 4 houses down, I said to her, would you like to go together? And we are going together. And she had to emphasize, for whatever reason, she had to emphasize, just so you know, it's not a date. I'm going to go there. I know people there and everything. And I said, and I didn't say a word. I said, we're just going together. That's all. And we can go home together because we literally have 4 houses from each other. So it makes no sense. So the joke is on her, the narcissist. The joke's on her. Because she thinks this bothers me. And it doesn't. I've been living my life. I've been going out. I've even been given breadcrumbs and clues to where I've been going. Hell, I was even in her neighborhood, 10 blocks away. And I told her that. And she didn't blink. Neither did he. None of them better than I. And I look back at the memories of how I grew up. On the good old days, when I used to be very popular and everything. And I realize now, I'm 46. I've been there and I've done that. I've been there and I've done that. I don't need to do it anymore. And if I do it every now and then, okay. But I don't have to constantly go out every weekend to prove anything. Everything I've done of late, talk about recently, I've done it on my own merits. I got a job with New York City with New York City. I'm on film sets. I'm talking more I'm talking more to people on film sets when I used to just keep to myself. I'm a lot calmer now. I'm a lot happier now. And this is a decision that she made. This is a decision that he made. And if the chat is dead, then I've turned the negative to positive because I now decided to turn it into my personal diary, even though I have the Substack. And I consider you all my family, or my friends, whichever one you want to take with this. So the joke's on them. And here's the thing about narcissism. Every time she didn't want to talk to me and she got angry at me because she used to say, it's because you sent me 50,000 emails and because you're ranting. And of course she was exaggerating the emails. But I knew she was lying because she still met me. Sometimes she would say, I'm not talking to you because of the emails. And then the very night, we would go out. And here's the thing. I gave her exactly what she wanted. I wasn't ranting. I wasn't emailing her. And a month later, she disavowed all knowledge of my existence for reasons I'll never understand. And at this point, it doesn't even bother me. Life goes on, and life is precious. And I know now that everything happened for a reason, whether we choose to or not. Look, I haven't had a job in months. And suddenly, I have all this money coming in, and I'm not even working. Okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration because I've been working on film sets, so I've been getting paid for that. But that wasn't really enough money. But this check that I got on Friday was a big amount. And it solidified. But now I have this city job, and it doesn't matter. It's just a 2-month job for the summer. It counts. And you put on your resume that you work for the city. That's impressive. And people are like, wow, geez, wow, amazing. And, and I'm very grateful because I have friends. I have my close friends that I need. And I have friends and I have people that I've been friends with for like 20, 15, 20 years. So they've earned the right to say certain things to me that no one else can. And they've called me out on my bullshit. They've called me out many, many times. And they've also put me in my place many times. And they've earned that right. And I'm like, you're right. You're right. You're right. But it also gives me time to reflect. And here's the thing. Last week, out of nowhere, I'm sitting in my bed and I came up with this idea for a Broadway musical. Yeah, I came up with the idea and AI helped me execute it. And no, it wasn't ChatGPT. And I did something that takes months for people to do. I planned out and I executed the outline and the concept in 24 hours. 14, 15 pages worth. And it came so easy to me because the Broadway musical that I did was essentially, it's a dark psychological musical thriller. And I'm writing as a pitch of Sweeney Todd meets Rent. And I've already got this concept done. I've registered with the Writers Guild and everything. So it's really great to shop around because nobody's afraid because then they don't have to worry. Um, and like a few days ago, I'm rewriting the some outline. I'm adding stuff to it and I'm moving things around. And I realized something. This entire musical is about me. And yes, I put in that there's a narcissist who's the antagonist, my character, me, which is the protagonist, an ensemble, and a flying monkey. And I realized this is all me. These are the ids of different parts of me fighting with myself. And I came up with this brilliant idea of that because it's me, as I said earlier, it's me fighting with my demons that are trying to force me back into my old ways that I said I would never ever become. And I think that's a good analogy for where I am today. And this is something that I'm sharing with you that's very personal and very vulnerable to me because I don't talk about this at all with anybody. I just think about it. And, and it's a very sensitive thing. I'm always afraid. And I'm sure that all of you have this same issue. I'm sure that all of you think about this too and struggle with it. And there are a lot of people who don't know how to deal with it, who don't know how to fight it, and just let it be. But I've had a lot of things happening in my life where I'm able to become strong and better, and I've learned how to fight these things because I've really experienced it. And I don't care if my demons come out. And I'll admit that they do come out every now and then, but not all of them come out. I admit that I do have to control my anger. But when I say I promise not to come out, is that I promised never again to be in a very dark place in my life. A dark place where you are suicidal or you want to or you're thinking of being suicidal. Luckily I didn't go that far down the rabbit hole, but people have. And when I say I was in a very dark place, it's hard to explain because everyone's dark place going down a rabbit hole is different. And I've explained mine. And I know that psychologically my mind should be blocking this out so that I don't remember it. But for some odd reason, I'm remembering this now. And I guess I'm remembering it now because going back down memory lane brought back those memories because that's where it happened, in the old place. And I literally was one of those people on the train. And I don't know where any of you live, and I don't know how the trains are over there. But over here, we had people coming on the subway who work for these organizations say, is anybody hungry and needs food? And I happen to have been one of those people back in the day. It was very embarrassing. It was very embarrassing to actually say that. It was very humiliating. No, okay, not humiliating. It was very embarrassing to say that I needed that food. Unfortunately, that the food they gave me I couldn't eat because it had turkey and cheese, and I don't eat meat and milk together. But regardless of that, it took a lot of courage. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons I am how I am today. It's probably why I started doing things that are out of my comfort zone now that will challenge me because of all of these things. And maybe, I don't know, but maybe that's why I'm starting to do more things that are out of my comfort zone and why I want to challenge myself even more. There are just some things you can't explain. And it's a shame that this girl that I was with, it's a shame. It's a shame because there was a point in my life when I first met her where I truly, truly loved her, where I truly cared about her, and I would have given everything for her. And I mean that. I mean that 100%. She taught me how to love again. Um, and I mean that. And I was always there for her. And I would have given everything. Hell, I probably would have married her. But unfortunately, it's a sad situation where she's a narcissist, and I even tried to get her help. I even was willing to go with her to get that help, and I was gonna go with her and say, "Look, I'm not perfect, and neither are you, but I'm the only one that cares enough about you to say that you need help, and that alone should have put a thought in her head saying, wow, he truly does care about me, he truly loves about me." But here's the thing about that. A person who wants help has to ask for help. The first step, it's like an alcoholic wanting help. The first step is to admit that you're an alcoholic and that you need the help. So I'm really sad that she's a narcissist. And I'm really sad that as you get older, narcissists get worse and worse and worse. It's really sad because I'm the only person that has seen her in her good times, her bad times, her worst times. I've seen her be vulnerable. I've seen her cry. Her friends haven't seen that. My friend who she turned against me hasn't seen that because I know her longer than he does. And so it's a real shame. And my heart breaks sometimes for this. There are times of me, and this is the first year, she had her birthday last week. This is the first year in 6 years I did not wish her happy birthday. Why? Because she no longer wants to have anything to do with me as of now. Maybe down the line she'll come back. But as of now, this is the first year in 6 years I did not wish her happy birthday or give her a birthday present. And I don't feel sorry about it. I feel sad. But to me, that day was a regular day. And I always thought she'd come in the chat and say, today's my birthday. Aren't you going to wish me happy birthday? And she's going to get worse. But you know what? The damage is done. Even if she ever comes back, I don't really have anything left to say to her. She basically left me for dead, disappeared. She'll never explain why. She'll just come back and act like nothing ever happened. And that's that. But my mind is clear now. My mind is clear. I've moved on. You can't abandon somebody and then expect them to be sitting around waiting for them to come back. Now, yes, it's true that narcissists leave you when they find a better supply. And then they come back to you when they either get bored of that supply or that supply doesn't give you what you want, or doesn't give in to your demands, or sees right through you. And so they'll come back to you. Now, I struggle with that part because, yes, we get along fine when we're together. We get along fine in everything. And I always end up going back to her, but we're not. But we're acquaintances at this point. Because after 3 months, I did see her. And acquaintances do that. They come, they hang out with each other, you know, every couple of months, and they catch up on old times of what they missed, show you pictures, and tell you what they're up to, and tell you what their upcoming plans are. And that's exactly what we did. We went for drinks. We hung out at a park. Went to a bar. You know, we had sex because, you know, it's just a habit we have, and, you know, when you drink, that's. And I haven't seen her since. But that's what we are now. Acquaintances, that's it. She basically cut me out of her life. I cut her out of mine. And that's the way it's going to be now. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I'm free. I'm single. I am what I am. Accept me for it or don't. but I'm not desperate. I am not desperate, and I'm okay being single. I'm okay, and I've publicly said this all the and I publicly said this. I'm happily single. I'm not looking for love, but if love finds me, great. Otherwise, I'm content. Otherwise, I am content with my life. I've gone out and I've done things by myself, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. And here's the thing: I can meet other people when I'm out by myself. And yes, I see girls with their friends. I see friends with their guys and everything. That's all great. That's all great. I can go tonight to where I'm going with an open mind and a clear head. Walk in there with no expectations, and it's a night out. That's it. I have no idea of the crowd. I literally don't know the crowd because I haven't asked her. She may not know either, but I don't know the crowd. I just know there's going to be live music, food, and booze. That's it. Maybe I'll know people there. Maybe I won't. But the point is, I'm going in there with an open mind, with no drama, with no stress, without her talking to me. I don't think. And you know what? I find that I'm more sociable now because I'm not checking my phone every few minutes to see if she or he responded to me. And since they're both not talking to me anymore, I don't have to look at my phone. And thus, I'm more sociable, more confident, and I'm living my life. And so the joke's on them. It doesn't bother me. And that's what going down memory lane for me was. That life is short and life is precious and nobody has time for bullshit. And you know what? At my age, all of this, he's a grown man that's older than me. She just turned 41. And they're both acting petty, childish, and immature for reasons I don't know. And so, to hell with them. I'm a grown man, and yes, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect, but I know I have flaws, and I'm secure enough to admit when I'm wrong, and I'm secure enough in who I am to apologize, and to also when people tell me I'm wrong, I'm like, well, thank you thank you. I did not know that. So I don't know. So why worry about what? Why do I have to worry about things I cannot control? Why do I have to stress out about all this stuff? And it's really, really important, by the way, my friends. It's really important to live your life on your terms. Nobody. Why do you have to care what other people think? You want to go by yourself to a club? Be my guest. You want to see the movies by yourself? You want to go to a movie by yourself? Be my guest. I was supposed to go to Seth Meyers tonight. I had two tickets because I always take that extra ticket. And I could go tonight and then go straight to the party. And she said to me, I'm not going to be mad. But here's the thing. One is I committed to her. So yeah, number one, when I said I was going to go with her, I commit to what I say. Two, I've already been to Seth Meyers, so I don't have to go again. So I know what I'm missing. Three, I could always go to Seth Meyers again. But the point that I'm making here is that I go myself. I go myself. And I have no regrets about that. And I like to do things that nobody else wants to do. So that's a whole different ballgame. And I'm not bitter. I don't hold grudges, and I'm not vindictive like the two in my chat are. The ones that aren't talking to me anymore. For whatever reason, they're holding some sort of vindictive grudge against me, for whatever reason. Or according to the one that ambushed me, because I'm lying. I'm lying. What am I lying about? Apparently I know and I should admit it. But here's the thing. In a court of law, everyone is innocent until proven guilty, and the evidence will fit the crime. The jury looks at the evidence and decides if the person is guilty or not guilty based on the evidence. And everybody lies. Sometimes we lie to protect the ones we love. Sometimes we lie to protect ourselves. But everybody lies. And the fact that they're in this room and they're lying to themselves makes it a double standard of hypocrisy. But at the end of the day, I've had the last laugh because I'm living on my terms. I'm doing things I used to do before I knew them, and I'm going to and I'm going out now. I'm enjoying every minute of my life. I'm catching up with old friends that I abandoned. I'm catching up with groups that I stopped hanging with. And last week alone, I discovered a new place. Well, it's not new, but I didn't know it existed. And I learned some history from the Native American Festival. And then the day after that, I took a tour of Central Park, a park that I'm still discovering. All without person A and person B bothering me, and they have no idea what I did. And they don't even care anymore. So, going down memory lane, I'm full circle in my life. At least that's what I want to believe. And I'm a better man today because of this. All this had happened. All these opportunities. I did acting last week. I did acting last week twice. And I'm starting a job with the city in a few weeks. Now, I'm not saying that this couldn't have happened if I lived in my old neighborhood, if I was still there. It could have very well been. But my life now is for the better. I may not admit it. I may not say it. And this podcast that I'm doing right now is hard for me to say because it's really personal. But it's also cathartic for me because I realize now that I was never the problem. I was never the issue because everybody rants. Psychiatrists say it's healthy to rant because you keep it bottled up inside of you. And one day, when you least expect it, it's all going to come out and blowing it up, and it's all going to come out, and it might be at the wrong place, at the wrong time, with the wrong person. And I said that to my friend one day. I said, I'm sorry for ranting. And she said to me, it's okay. It's good to vent. That's a friend. That's a friend. So if you get angry at me every time I rant, and you give me the silent treatment for doing that, then the problem is with you, not with me. And I've told this to her many times. I said, if you did what I did, if you did what every other person did by ranting and venting, perhaps you'd be a lot better. And when your response to me is, fuck off, then who really is the mature adult in this room? Sure, you're projecting everything onto me so you can have your life as if nothing bothers you. And when your life is full of partying, drinking, drugs, and sex, because it makes you feel good about yourself, because it shows that people are validating you, fine. But without sex, what has he got? With the guy. Without sex, what else he got? And at least with me, I took care of her. she always says to me, I'm hotter than you. You don't deserve me. And I always said, well, yet here we are. And you know what? She was right. I don't deserve her. I deserve better. And deserving better is me dating myself. And I know that sounds really pathetic, but if you look at it on a positive note, it doesn't. So she was right. I can do better. And I have. With myself, my friends, my neighbor 4 houses down. They like my company. They want to be with me. They want to hang out with me. Otherwise, why would she be okay with me walking together with her? Why? She trusts me with her kids, and that's validation. That's what I need. So, I'm doing okay for myself. I truly am. I may not be the perfect. I may have flaws. I may be damaged. I may be annoying. But I know who I am. And I know what I am. And I know that I can be better. And I have her to thank for that. Because when she tried to put me down and tell me, you have no friends, you're a loser, everybody hates you. Okay. Everybody hates me, yet I'm with them right now. Oh, because they feel sorry for you. I'm done with the manipulation and the gaslighting bullshit. I'm done with that. I see it as clear as day now. I was never the problem. I was never the issue. And people are just... And when you're projecting everything onto me, so you could say, I have no problem. I'm perfect. You're the problem. No. You've turned me into your mirror. You've put all your problems onto me to say that I'm the problem and I'm the loser. So you don't have to face yourself in the mirror. Because then when you look in the mirror, you'll say, I'm perfect. I'm in every way. But no, you don't want to talk to me because then you have to face me. And I'm your mirror. With your problems that you put onto me. And so by staying away, you're running from your problems. But here's the thing on that. At some point in your life, it's going to catch up to you. And you're going to have to face it head on, whether you like it or not. Because I've done that. And I'm sure we've all done that. There's just no, at some point, the past catches up to you. And when you're forced to face the reality, well, guess what? I won't be there for you. I've already tried more than once. And you basically told me to go fuck off. And so, yeah, my life is great. My life is great. It's okay. I don't want to say great. My life is okay. My life is okay. I have friends. I have my close friends. The people in my life, the ones that I need are in my life. My close friends. They're there for me. We don't always see eye to eye like friends do. But those are the loyal friends who will never throw me under the bus. Those are my friends who will always protect me when I need them. But they'll also be there to call me out when they detect my bullshit. And they'll be there to put me in my place. And that is a true friend. That is a real friend. And that's all I need. Somebody who can put me in my place and call me out. Somebody who criticized me when I show them my writing. And someone who pushes me to do better. And that's what I wanted to tell all of you. Going down memory lane this past Friday was a blessing in disguise. I did not expect it. It was something that came out of thin air. But it got me to think long and hard about my life. And I realize now that I'm better off without toxic people. and I'm better off for the toxicity in my life. And if people are noticing that I'm happier and I'm more confident and I'm less stressed, then you know that it's for the best of what happened. And if they come back, they come back. If they don't, they don't. But I'll put it to you this way: if I could see my former friend at the same meal that I am, and he's not giving me the time of day, and he's acting like I don't exist, or doesn't see that, or pretends we're not even in the same room, then I know that she turned him against me into one of her flying monkeys. Because it's not lost to me that they're both staying silent at the same exact time, and they're both lurking. Although with her, she's been out of the chat for 3 weeks. So, but I'm not going to digress on that. When people have noticed a change in me for the better, and they ask you what happened, and I'm like, I just don't talk to her anymore, and you're like, you've said this before. I'm like, well, to be fair, both of them aren't talking to me. You're right, I've said this before. But now I think it's for good. Because this time, I did nothing wrong to warrant it. And I'm counting on her coming back. I really am. And she's going to come back and pretend like nothing ever happened and continue talking to me like everything's normal and okay. But at least now I know who she really is. At least now I know what type of person she is. And as for my former friend, I guess he wasn't that loyal. I guess he wasn't that loyal. Because if he's ambushed me twice in public to try that reaction out of me and then lying about it while calling me a liar, then I now know who he is. And I've always been right. Unfortunately, I've always been right when I said eventually people show their true colors. And unfortunately, I've been proven right about that. And even if he does come back to his senses, I know that I can never trust him again. I know that I could never, ever. That'll be a long time before I can trust him again, if ever. But I also know I won't tell his girlfriend. Because if I do that, then I'm no better than him. And I'm no better than her. And I'm no hypocrite. And it'll do more damage. I mean, what more damage can I possibly do? What more damage can possibly happen when the damage is already done? But at some point, if I did that, it'll come back to bite me in the ass because he'll come back and say, why did you get her involved? Why are you making stories up? And to me, again, it doesn't really care. I see the truth now. The damage is done, and there's no going back. They've opened that Pandora's box that will never close. And this is why I have trust issues. Over the years, I've had trust issues. Hell, I don't even trust myself. I'd have to meet a very special person to let my guard down again and to give them everything. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. Maybe I'm slowly doing it subconsciously with certain people, like the person 4 houses down from me, without realizing it. And I hope that one day I do find somebody. But for now, I'm content with being single and enjoying life on my terms, because I know what I am, and I know who I am. I am me. I am unique, and I am free. And that's all that matters. I'm living life on my terms because who knows what tomorrow will bring. I thank you for listening to my personal rant.